Welcome back to Boruto Anime Review, episode 190. Excuse me. This episode reviewing the 190th episode of the anime Escape. This is interesting though that this is the first episode since episode 180. Yeah, being like it's been 10 episodes since since I've not had to look up and see what changes were made to a chapter in the manga. Because with this episode, this is completely unoriginal. Things starts off with Konohamaru debriefing Naruto of the course of events that happened over the past 10 episodes. Which, okay, that's perfectly fine. And he does inform her about Kachikoji, the one who can about him using the Rasengan. And that surprised Naruto because there's very few people who actually can use it now. I mean, the only people left alive are Naruto himself, Konohamaru, and Boruto. Though you can probably count Sasuke and Kakashi part of that, so it's effectively about 5 people. So Kachikoji, maybe you saw that before. No, it's definitely Rasengan. And if they ask Boruto, he will tell the same thing. Kachikoji used the Rasengan. So, what exactly happened to Kiwanaki and the rest of Team 7? Well, they're taken back to the lab from a few episodes back. Yep, we're back to this lab again. And he's kept sort of in a cell with these sort of futuristic style handcuffs where basically they're shape of basically a big rectangle. The whole is basically his hands like this. I'm sure you can still twist his hands, but you can't exactly move them. And he's kept isolated because they don't trust him. Okay, fine. The reasoning for it. So, after chatting for a while, of course, Sasumori basically agrees to go with just Boruto and Mitsuke to Kawanaki's room. They, of course, don't know his name is Kawanaki. They basically refer to him as the name that Kara referred to him as. And they mention the whole thing about karma, which is the little thing in Boruto's hand, the one shaped like a diamond. About the whole thing involving karma. That's the name of the thing. It's basically it's kind of like an implant in a way, an organic implant. That's the best way to describe the damn thing. Excuse me. So, Boruto goes to visit. Boruto, Mitsuki, and Sadara go visit. Not Sadara. Sasumori go to visit Kawanaki. Now, it is pointed out though by Forever World that this is actually true. At this point, if you read the manga, Kawanaki did not interact with Sasumori into the most recent chapters. Which, I get kind of the reason why they decided to had this in original content. I mean, there's nothing that says this could take place between chapters 25 and 26. I mean, it seems as though a little bit of time passed by. Also, it was mentioned by Naruto himself that he would go visit Kawanaki himself. So, of course, they get his attention by banging on the door with his handcuff, really want to get out of the cell. Yes, he does not like becoming in prison. So he knocks over his own food that he thought was poisoned, and Sasumori says, "No, this is not poison." He asks where he is. Boruto basically was not authorized to give information, but apparently Sasumori was allowed to. Or he said, "Oh yeah, this is an advanced research facility. We study scientific ninja tools." Which probably got Kawanaki thinking, I could probably use that for my escape. That's what he was probably thinking. So, then Boruto would go back, and then, of course, this is, of course, after he was knocked out, but yeah, it's some kind of knockout gas. And then, of course, he basically talked to Boruto, one of anyways, through the camera, and said, "I have a quest." "What's a quest?" "Use the bathroom." "Yep, use the bathroom." So you have Mitsuke. You basically have Team 7 minus Sasumori here, where they're escorting him to the restroom. And he looks around, sees all the scientific stuff. He accidentally knocks over, apparently not actually these special devices. These are actually sort of like a smoke screen. That's something they used previously, which, okay. Using a device they previously introduced, which, good job for them doing that. Then, of course, he gets to the bathroom. Everything's like hunky-dory. And then he drops the device, activating the gas. Also, Sadara stayed behind to clean up the stuff because, the stuff was dangerous. So she has stayed behind while Boruto and Mitsuki escorted him to the restroom, the men's room, mind you. Then he drops the gas and apparently he escapes through the ventilation system. I'm thinking, when I saw this, like, who the heck do you think he is? John McClane from Die Hard? Because John McClane was number doing if you watched the original Die Hard movie and in Die Hard 2. Die Harder. He did that particular thing where he basically went around the ventilation system. Though in the case of that first film, he did it, of course, in one building. While in the case, the second film was basically all over the airport. So, then he gets hysterical. It looks like he's about to escape and he's stopped by Sasumori, which are form. She, of course, is informed by the escape, tells Nu to stay behind. And she proceeds to take on Kawanaki by herself, which he then gets thrown against the wall. Of course, Nu follows this, if he tells her behind. And then he goes to, like, not giant-sized form per se, basically the size of a tiger, where he attacks Kawanaki and bites his arm. Yes, starting to freaking bleed. Which apparently had Kawanaki break out his handcuffs that way. And, of course, well, Sasumori had to hold him back. And, of course, Kawanaki gets outside. Of course, he's bleeding. And then you also see Naruto, like, when he leaves the train station, going on the Thunder train over to the Ruston medical, the research facility. And he's taking on that train. And the only person brings with him to this facility is Sai. I would have thought, though, because he's Hokage, I would think you bring a little bit more backup besides Sai. Nothing against Sai, he's a great character. I would have thought you'd bring a couple other characters with him aside from freaking Sai. Like, he could bring Mari with him, because Mari is technically one of his bodyguards. I'm surprised he'd bring along with her. Maybe because she's not in this portion of the series. Because technically, her last appearance was actually the start of the Ao arc. That was her only appearance in the manga. In the anime, she's popped up a few times in the course of the series. Like, she popped up in episode 39, and she popped up in Steam Ninja Scroll stuff, and she popped up like one episode after that, and that's it for her. I mean, great character. I kind of wish she appeared a little bit more. I mean, aside from Sai, you could bring that character along, but I guess Sai's okay because he's a friend, he's a veteran, so why not? And plus, Sai was probably a good choice to bring along because he's in charge of gathering intelligence, so why not bring him along? I mean, I get why not Shikamaru, because he probably has to stay behind to decipher stuff, so someone's got to be in charge of the village with Naruto's way. Okay, so why not also bring along, besides Mare, you could bring along Choji. He might be a good choice. Ino might be tied up with the cartography stuff. That's probably what she's probably told. Choji, aside from the fact that his family's in charge of food pills, you can bring him along as a good bodyguard. Him along with Kiba. That might be nice. I don't know if he wanted to bring his wife Hinata with him, because she probably is home basically looking after her daughter. It's possible. But if you think of Choji, he's probably the only person who doesn't really do anything. Like, of all the people from the Hidden Leaf 12, he's the only one who technically doesn't do anything. I mean, aside from the fact that his family is in charge of making food pills, he doesn't really do anything at all. I mean, look at, let's say, Kiba. At least he has a job. What is his job? He's a police officer. Rock Lee, I believe he works in the police force, and he's also an extra hand for security. But Choji, I've never heard him actually do anything aside from the fact he got married and had Chocho. Yes. And this episode overall was really good. I'm definitely looking forward to next week, especially seeing a chance to see Naruto interact with Sasumori. I mean, overall, can you think of any time in the series Naruto interacted with her? I know Sai has interacted with her like once the entire series. I believe it was back in episode 14 when we last saw her in person. Because in the case of Naruto himself, he's never actually talked to Sasumori before. So next week will be the first time in the entire anime he's actually interacted with this one character. Because normally she just interacts with just the current generation characters. And of course she's interacting with Shino, which he has not been seen in the series since they're up to the Ninja Academy stuff. I think he's popped up like a few times over the course of the series since Ninja Academy stuff wrapped up. Yep. But not much else to say this episode. It's got great pacing with it. The music is really good. I think the writing for this episode is quite interesting. I mean, at least the way Boruto was written, it's like despite the fact he's technically not a Chunin, he acts like he is because he's basically in charge of everything with Konohamaru not being there. My guess is that because, and this is just my theory, maybe he is a Chunin. It's distinctly possible he might be due to the fact he has some authority and the fact he can run things without Konohamaru being around. It's possible. I mean, the only Chunin officially promoted in the current generation of kids is Shikadai, which made total sense for him to be the first one because, after all, in the previous generation of characters, it was Shikamaru, Shikadai's father. He was the first one promoted. In the case of this one, Shikadai makes sense. In the case of basically Boruto being a Chunin, it kind of seems like it's that way. Kind of seems like to the fact he's pretty much the one running things. I mean, he's a lot more better running things basically as a team than, let's say, maybe Naruto does sometimes. So Naruto's usually pretty good, but in a situation like this, I think the reason why Boruto is allowed to be sort of authoritarian toward everybody else is because, well, my guess is because he's the son of the Hokage. And he probably is not as reckless as Naruto was when he was younger. Yep, that's just my personal theory in the matter. If you want to think of one character that's pretty much Jack freaking squat the whole episode, it's Sadara. Aside from the fact, I mean, her screen time this episode is so limited. I mean, it's quite strange. Sadara, my friend Edgar's favorite character series, and in this episode, she gets like maybe 5 minutes of screen time. I mean, she only appears like 3 times over the course of the whole episode. And a lot of the time, she doesn't get a lot of screen time. The first time we see her is toward the briefing scene. Excuse me, I see her in the camera a couple times for like maybe like 30 seconds. And then, of course, she's with the rest of the team escorting Mitsuki to the back. I think she's got overall in this whole episode, and this is my theory, out of the 23-minute runtime, I'd say about 6 minutes. Yeah, that's... I get the bar, you get to go out of screen time. Mitsuki actually got pretty decent screen time this episode. That's why I think he didn't do a lot this episode. At least he got more screen time, which that's actually pretty good. Yeah, I would say probably the one character I'm very happy she got a lot of screen time is Sasumori. Because why not? I mean, prior to this, like her last appearance was just several episodes back, and it's great though that she gets a lot of screen time this episode. I mean, yeah, she's an original character, and yeah, she's been added to the manga. I think she was actually the first original character added to the manga after she was introduced. Yeah, because can you think of any other character who's an original character who was introduced in the anime first, then the manga? In the case of this series, no. She's the first one, and she still currently appears as of chapter 55, which I heard this was some spoilers released online about chapter 56, which is probably not going to come out for at least for like another week, I'd say. I haven't seen anything on the app yet that it's been released yet. But this episode was good. I had no problem with it at all. And next week we're going to continue this, which is actually good. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for my review, my comic corner, which I'm discussing 2 Avenger trades. Yep. Preview the next video. Bye.